I still don't understand why you had to invite Julia down for the weekend. I mean, an evening would have been bad enough, but 2 whole days, James.
She was desperate.
Well, so am I now to get desperate get back to London and avoid her.
We're just about the only friends she's got at the moment.
That's because we're too damn polite to send her packing like everybody else. Plying me with alcohol won't help, you know.
Maybe not, but it might improve your temper.
Do you think she did it? Well, do you?
Do I what?
Do you think Julia killed John Marshall?
Of course not.
Why? You think she's innocent?
Well,
Think she's
of course.
not capable of murder?
No, I mean, how should I know?
Well, you were lovers for a while.
Yeah, well, still alive if that's anything to go by.
So you think she's innocent?
Of course I do.
Well, at least Miles will be down here soon and he can shed some light on all this horrible business.
Miles?
Yes, I invited him down earlier. Is that a problem?
Only from the small matter of him once being your husband? No, not at all.
You were engaged to her.
For 2 weeks. It's a little bit different. You were married to Miles.
So you weren't close enough to know if she's capable of murder then?
Well, she didn't have killer written in her underwear, if that's what you want to know. Oh, hi, Julie. We were just wondering where you got into, weren't we, Dee?
Of course.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you waiting for me? You probably told me what time you'd be eating, and I've forgotten, haven't I? I'm so sorry. I'm not really on the ball at the moment.
Oh, don't worry about it. We were just going to phone for some delivery.
I can't stop thinking about John.
Well, that's absolutely perfectly understandable, isn't it, Dee?
Perfectly.
Can't believe that I won't ever see him again.
Uh, can I fix you a drink? It might help settle your nerves.
I don't think I could stomach anything right now.
Well, I could. Could you fix me a drink, Jimmy? And put some ice in it this time.
There isn't any.
There's some in the kitchen.
Oh, right. Won't be a minute. You'll keep an eye on Jules, won't you, Dee?
If I must. You all right, Julia?
Oh, yes, fine. I'm sorry. I can't seem to settle.
I suppose it's hardly surprising under the circumstances.
So much has happened in the space of 24 hours. Yesterday morning, all I had to worry about was what color handbag would look best with my suit. Now, the man I lived with is in a police morgue, and everyone thinks that I put him there.
I don't even know what to say. It must be terrible. Look, Julia, I know that we haven't always seen eye to eye, but
I know you didn't want me to come.
That wasn't what I said.
But you didn't, did you?
Well, if I'm honest, no. Me and James have been through enough lately, and an old flame coming down for the weekend wasn't what I had planned.
You seem pretty happy together.
We are, and I'm sorry if that hurts you.
Oh, look, don't get me wrong. I got over James a long time ago. I won't deny that it was hard. You both knew that, but I'm fine. Well, I was fine until yesterday.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just have to get used to things being different now. And look, I won't stay long, I promise. I just needed somewhere to run. The press already hounding me, and my neighbors won't even look me in the eye.
It's fine, really.
James must think I'm a complete nuisance.
On the contrary, I think the nuisance in this situation is me for not welcoming you with open arms.
Wow, honesty from Delia.
I prefer to be honest when possible.
Unless you're having an affair with my fiance, of course.
Of course.
You're very lucky, you know. I always knew that James would make a great husband.
And you were right. Look, you sure about that drink?
But then most men seem great at first, don't they?
Well, so do some women.
Yes, perhaps you're right. We all have secrets, don't we?
What do you mean by that?
Oh, you know, boy meets girl, they fall in love, boy has a secret but doesn't tell girl. Everything ends in tears when she finds out.
Is this some cryptic quiz or something?
Oh, no, not at all. It's just my rather cynical view of relationships, I'm afraid. In my experience, men are never quite what they seem.
Well, James is.
Is he?
Yes, he is. And why are you trying to tell me that he's not?
I'm just saying that sometimes we don't know the people that we live with as much as we thought we did.
You still haven't got over it, have you? Even now, the man you supposedly adore hardly cold, and you're still causing trouble.
Please, I know you can't stand me, but there are things you don't know.
What sort of things?
James,
What about James?
he's been lying to you.
Oh, for God's sakes, Julie, is this a melodramatic plot to get James back? Because you can forget it.
Don't say anything to him, please. Just give me a chance to explain.
Why the hell should I?
It's James's writing, isn't it?
So he wrote you while we were together. What's that prove?
Look at the postmark.
Ah! Bloody ice machine nearly tore my damn finger off. Why we can't use a plastic tray like everyone else, I'll never know.
Because you melted it the last time you cooked, sweetie.
Oh, yes, I've forgotten about that.
Would you like a hand?
No, you're fine. Suppose Dee has told you about Miles coming down?
Miles.
Oh, she hasn't told you. Yes, she's invited Miles down for the weekend.
Isn't he a...
Dreadful bore?
No, I mean, isn't he a psychiatrist or something?
That's right.
I wouldn't worry, Julia. Dee was married to him for 5 years, and he failed to notice that she's a psychotic megalomaniac, so I'm sure we'll be certified sane.
Ha 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 ha. As you see, James still has a problem with psychiatrists.
Only the ones you marry, dear.
Well, I, for one, am glad that he's coming. Who knows, Julia? He might be able to help you. I mean, sometimes going over traumatic experiences help people to remember the details that might help the police.
To be honest, I'm not sure that I want to remember anything.
The police need to know how John died, Jules.
I know how he died. It was pretty bloody obvious how he died. He was slumped over the piano with a knife sticking out of his back like some grotesque scene from an Agatha Christie play.
Oh, good. So all we need now is Miss Marple?
Dee, look, Jules, try not to dwell on it. You're probably still in shock.
The police think that I did it.
Of course they don't.
Oh, yes, they do.
Dee, please.
Well, it's the truth. I'm sure Julia doesn't need us to lie to her at the moment.
Delia's right. I want you to be straight with me.
But the police treat everyone suspiciously, and in a situation like this, they're bound to until they find the killer.
I don't blame them. I mean, why shouldn't they treat me as a suspect? I was the only person seen going into John's flat, so it must look like an open and shut case.
If only it were that simple.
Oh, come on, Jules. Think about it. Anyone could have walked in or out of that building yesterday.
I was the only one who was seen.
But that doesn't mean it didn't happen. I mean, you'd have to be pretty stupid to walk in full view of everyone if you were on your way to commit a murder, wouldn't you?
Either that or extremely clever.
I still can't believe that he's gone.
I suppose this means the conceit tour will be canceled.
Oh, bloody hell, I'd forgotten about the tour.
Well, I can't see them hiring another pianist.
Oh, you're right. John Marshall was the biggest celebrity they had. Without him, may as well call it a day. I mean, no one's going to want to pay $50 a seat to watch a stand-in.
So what will you do?
What do you mean?
Well, if the tour is canceled, surely you'll be out of a job.
Considering I'm facing a charge of murder, that seems the last of my problems. Anyway, I wasn't due to go on this particular tour.
Really? That's odd.
What is?
Well, James told me that you'd be the lead violinist on the tour.
Did I?
It's news to me. Like James said, John was the star of the show. It didn't matter who accompanied him.
So John had given the job to someone else then?
Kathy Angus got it.
Didn't John used to date Kathy Angus?
So?
Nice one. So your boyfriend gave the best job in the orchestra pit to his ex? The words deja vu come to mind.
It wasn't like that, actually.
No?
John loved me. He would have done anything to keep me.
Are you sure it wasn't the other way around? That would be Miles.
Oh, goody.
Try and be nice, would you, sweetie? Thank you.
Be nice. How can I be nice when all I want to do is rip his bloody head off? I'm sorry, Julia. It's just that when I married Delia, I never expected her ex-husband to be hanging around quite so often.
Do you think that I can have that drink now?
Oh, of course. We can drown our sorrows while Delia rekindles old case studies. Oh, see? I told you you'd have a case with him.
Ha ha ha. Julia Fraser, Miles Barnum.
Ah, the suspect.
For God's sakes, Miles, have some decorum.
Is that today's paper?
Yep, the late edition. I picked it up from the station.
Do you think that I could see it?
I'm not sure that's such a good idea, Jules.
I just want to know if there's anything about John in there.
A little more than anything, actually, Julia. The paper seems to have made it its lead feature.
Well, what do you expect? John Marshall was a huge celebrity. The papers must think it's their lucky day.
Here. Perhaps it's more important that you face these things if you can.
I suppose that's your professional opinion.
No, James. My professional opinion will cost rather a lot of money. That was simply a piece of good advice.
Perhaps now would be a good time to show you to your room, Miles. James, why don't you get Miles a drink while we're waiting on us?
Nothing would bring me more pleasure, darling. Smug bastard. I expect he'll be looking at the books on my bedside cabinet, trying to analyze me on the kind of crap I like to read. Jules, why don't you give me that? You know how the media is. They're just going to make it worse.
It says I'm in hiding.
Yeah, let me see. The body of celebrated concert pianist John Marshall was found by his girlfriend in his Knightsbridge flat yesterday. Miss Julia Fraser, also a musician, currently in hiding whilst helping the police with their inquiries.
They might just have plastered guilty over the front page.
Police are appealing for witnesses who may have seen anyone enter or leave the building yesterday.
What if nobody comes forward?
Look, this is all routine sort of stuff. They're bound to find someone, and when you do, you'll be in the clear.
Well, if it's so routine, why hasn't anyone come forward yet?
I don't know. Perhaps the person they need is on holiday or something.
I can't wait for a couple of weeks.
Sorry, bad example, but you know what I'm trying to say. Someone must have seen something.
Yeah, me.
Here.
Thanks, and thanks for letting me stay.
Oh, don't mention it. If Dee can invite her ex down, why shouldn't I? Especially at a time like this.
He scares me a little.
Who, Miles? You and me both.
No, seriously, I don't like the idea of him here analyzing everything I say.
Analyzing? Miles doesn't analyze. He condescends. There's a distinct difference.
But the police might give credence to what he finds.
What do you mean, what he finds? He's here as a house guest, not an extra from Law and Order.
You don't understand, James. I'm the police's only suspect at the moment. Don't you think it's rather coincidental that Delia should suddenly invite Miles for the weekend?
What are you suggesting, that Delia and Miles are working with the police?
I don't know. Perhaps. I mean, didn't you once say that Miles had been involved with catching a rapist last year?
Yeah, he was the most qualified psychiatrist in the area. They needed some tips. He's hardly on the payroll.
But it's possible.
Listen, you're putting way too much into this. And even if Miles was working with the police, you've got nothing to hide, have you?
No, you're right. I'm sorry. It's just, I'm so frightened.
Come on now, it's going to be fine. The police will find the killer, and when you do, you can get your life back together.
Whatever happens, I'll still be without John.
I know. And I'm sorry, I really am. I mean, I thought this was going to be the time that you were going to finally get it to work out for you.
Me too.
Here, take this. It might help you sleep.
Sleep? I don't even know if I want to. Every time I close my eyes, I see John lying there and all that blood.
I know. Look, this is going to sound ridiculous, but you're really going to have to try to stop thinking about it. You know, you're going to need to rest, empty your mind. Why don't you take that drink up with you and go get some rest before Miles and Delia get back, and it'll save you from having to answer any more questions, if nothing else.
Thanks, James. I think I might just do that. I don't think I could stand any more interrogating. Whatever happens, I'll always be grateful for this, you know. When the police asked me where I could stay during the investigation, you were the first person that I thought of.
Old habits die hard, eh?
Yes, I suppose they do.
Come on now, chin up. Everything's going to be fine. I'm sure of it. You go and get some rest.
Where's Julia? Surely she hasn't gone to bed already.
Well, that's my fault, I'm afraid. She looked done in, and I'm not sure she could have stood up to any more questioning.
Oh, honestly, seriously, James, you make it sound like Miles is here to interrogate her or something.
Well, isn't he?
No, of course not.
I came because I was invited, James.
Not by me.
I see that now.
I thought that Miles might be able to help Julia. Is that so hard to believe?
You know, I'm sensing rather a lot of anger coming from you, James.
Sensing anger. God save me from psychiatrist. You know, I'm beginning to think that Jules was right. You have come here to snoop, haven't you? She's done in, Miles. She can't stand up to any more questioning. She had to endure finding the body of the man she loves, and she's the police's #1 suspect.
She chose to come here.
Yeah, to seek some kind of refuge, not to be put under the microscope of Dr. Freud's protege.
James, what the hell's got into you?
Perhaps I should not have came.
No, perhaps you shouldn't.
Oh, what was that? Oh my
Sounded
God.
like Julia.
Oh my God, sit it down.
What is it,
What's
Jules?
happening?
I found this
What's
in
happening?
my bed.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So, Miss Fraser didn't say anything else. No explanation for how the knife got into her bed.
No, she just held the horrible thing and fainted into my husband's arms.
Good thing you're not the jealous type, huh?
Why should I be jealous? James isn't interested in Julia Fraser.
But wasn't your husband once engaged to Miss Fraser?
So, I was once married to Dr. Barnum. What's that prove?
The people here have some really strange relationships.
Look, Detective,
Judge.
yeah, I haven't got a clue how the horrid thing got into our guest bed. I can only assume, considering myself, James, and Miles didn't put it there, there's only one other person.
Are you saying that Miss Fraser is the only person that had access to the guest room?
Well, no, but what I was saying.
Doesn't really make sense, does it? I mean, if you're a suspect in a murder investigation, why would you plant the murder weapon in your own bed?
Perhaps she's been watching too much television, Detective, and she's trying to throw you off the scent.
Or perhaps someone here is trying to throw us off the scent, as you put it.
What do you mean by that?
Do you think she killed Mr. Marshall, Mrs. McClintock?
I don't know. And to be honest, I really don't care. In my opinion, the woman needs help.
Has she ever suffered from mental problems before?
You'll have to ask James about that if you can find him, that is.
Mr. McClintock isn't here.
Nope, we had a huge fight after Julia did her dying swan routine, and he stormed out. I haven't seen him since.
Can you tell me what the fight was about?
You're the detective, aren't you?
So it was about Miss Fraser.
Yes, it was about Miss Fraser and the fact that my husband did not approve of Miles asking her any questions.
Was your husband always so protective of your house guests?
I don't like your implications, Detective Rudge.
Simply doing my job, madam.
Well, if you must know, James did get all worked up about Julia. He thought that Miles had come here to interrogate her or something sinister is that. He was bloody rude to him. And so after she calmed down and went back to bed, Miles went out for a cigar and me and James had a huge fight.
Your husband obviously didn't like having Dr. Barnum around.
As we have already established, my husband has what you might call a jealous streak.
And you haven't seen Mr. McClintock since...
11 o'clock last night.
Does Mr. McClintock make a habit of staying out all night?
What do you think?
I think that you've already proven you're a very understanding wife.
Not that understanding, Detective. No, to be honest, James and I hardly ever fight. This is our first big one, you might say.
And aren't you even a little concerned as to his whereabouts?
Why should I be? He's probably booked at the local pub. I think they rent rooms out, I believe.
We've checked the pub.
And he's not there?
No, they've not had any new guests for over a week.
Well, then dare I say he's parked at a lay-by and slept in the car.
That's one possibility.
Anyways, why are you so interested in my husband's whereabouts? I thought you were here to investigate the murder of John Marshall, not interfere in marital disputes. A husband and a wife having a fight is hardly a case for a serious crime squad now, is it?
So where is Miss Fraser then?
Sleeping, I suppose. I haven't seen her yet this morning.
Have you checked her room?
No. Why should I? Is she a prisoner yet?
You mind if I check?
Be my guest. I don't see what that's going to achieve. I doubt very highly that she has run away. I could not be that lucky.
I suppose I was just curious to know if she might be in contact with your husband.
What are you implying now?
Well, as your husband hasn't been seen since 11 o'clock last night, and neither has Miss Fraser, have you not considered the possibility that they could be together?
No, I don't know.
Ah, good morning. My name is Dr. Miles Barnum.
Detective Rudge, sir. Sally Rudge, and this is Officer Hastings. Drew Hastings?
Well, it's such a pleasure. Have you had a cup of coffee yet?
No, not yet.
Oh, please, let me. I think it's so uncivilized to talk over an empty cup, don't you think?
I did offer.
Here.
I'd love one too.
Thank you, Dr. Barnum.
Oh, no. Please, call me Miles. Dr. Barnum is just so full.
Do be careful, detective. He'll be searching your mind next, looking for all them skeletons.
The only skeletons I have, Mrs. McClintock, are being dealt with by forensics.
Charming.
So, Doctor, Miles.
Nope, Doctor. Dr. Barnum.
Dr. Miles, when you arrived here, what frame of mind would you say Miss Fraser was in?
Well, let's see. I actually arrived here around 10 o'clock. I caught the train from Queen Street, and I walked up from the station.
Mrs. McClintock didn't come to pick you up?
He needs the exercise.
I like to walk. I spend most of my time sitting in a stuffy consulting room. So anytime that I can get some fresh air, I like to get it.
And when you arrived here, what state of mind would you say Miss Fraser was in?
Oh yeah, you did ask that question. From my professional point of view, I would say she was very agitated, edgy, and very, very suspicious of me.
Think she was hiding anything?
Does he look like Sherlock Holmes, detective?
Just around the eyes.
I'm just hoping to get a different perspective on this, madam.
Yes, well, 5 minutes ago you were asking about Mrs. Fraser's room, and then I had said about
right.
Lee's, and
We're gonna go check that. Let's go check.
it's
Lee?
down the hall, first flight of stairs, second door on your left.
This shouldn't take very long.
I'd personally move a lot faster if I did have a cup of coffee.
Well, she's a nice girl. Shame about the job.
Why is she questioning me, Miles? I don't like it.
Well, what's there to like?
You know what I mean. Last night, as far as I was concerned, we were giving refuge to Julia while the police carried on their investigations. Now, it seems as though we're being interrogated, and not only that, they seem unusually interested in the whereabouts of James. Detective Rudge even went so far to suggest that they might be together.
Who?
James and Julia, who do you think?
And do you think that that's a possibility?
No, of course not.
Then why are you so rattled?
Because I don't understand why she's involving us. John Marshall's murder has nothing to do with this. We hardly knew him, for God's sakes.
But James did, didn't he?
Well, yes, but only on a professional basis.
So they never went out, save for drinks after a concert.
Perhaps. They may have, but what's that prove?
Well, on its own, nothing. But coupled with the fact that he used to be Julia's fiancé, and now suddenly Julia's boyfriend is found murdered, it could be the reason why the police are so keen to eliminate him from their inquiries.
But he hadn't been in contact with her since we got married.
but I thought they went to the pre-concert dinner the week before.
Who told you that?
Patients of mine, actually. Jealous. She said she had been, so I asked her, out of inquiry if she knew John. She said that he was sitting at a table with Julia and John Marshall.
She must have been thinking of someone else.
Why would you say that? Did John not go to the dinner?
No, he couldn't make it. He was in Oslo tying up a new contract.
Oslo. Huh.
Mhm.
Well, I guess an agent's life is never quiet, eh?
So you see, your patient must have made a mistake.
Perhaps you're right.
Besides, James wouldn't lie.
But he lied to Julia.
That was different.
Then you lied to me.
I thought we had agreed not to go over old ground after the last time.
Look, I'm just simply stating that all of us can lie quite convincingly when we have the chance. You must admit that it was very easy for you and James to deceive us.
Oh, for God's sakes, Miles, we were having an affair. It's not the sort of thing you're honest and open about over dinner. Besides, we didn't want anyone to get hurt.
God, that's so naive. Come on, Dee. Having an affair is like detonating a bomb full of nails. No matter where you're standing, sooner or later, everybody is going to get hurt.
I suppose that's an analogy for your patients.
Unfortunately, most of my patients are so full of nails to listen to analogies.
So what is it that you're doing? Patronizing me?
All I'm saying is that you can learn a lot about James by how he treated Julia.
Well, thank you, doctor, for that great advice. But you have obviously failed to realize that sometimes, contrary to your medical theories, people fall in love, and this forces them to do things that may affect other people, and however much they apologize, they never let them forget it.
Julia was a little more than hurt, don't you think?
That was hardly our fault. No one expected her to react so badly. James felt awful for weeks about the whole business, as you well know.
The woman tried to kill herself, Dee.
Are we discussing Miss Fraser here?
It was 3 years ago.
Any particular reason that you know of?
She left a note. Why don't you check your records?
It'd save me a lot of time if you could just tell me yourself.
All right. How shall I put this? She caught me in bed with her fiance. There, you satisfied now? I stole Julia's fiance, and she has made us live with the guilt ever since.
Do you think your husband ever regrets what happened?
I bloody well hope not. What kind of question is that?
Tell me, Mrs. McClintock, did Miss Fraser ever speak to you when your husband wasn't around? Anything about the events leading up to the murder?
We're hardly bosom buddies.
Bosom.
Didn't you say that Julie was trying to give you something last night, Dee?
But she didn't show me anything. I mean, she was just babbling on about not trusting James or some old rubbish. To be honest, it seemed like another pathetic attempt to get James back.
Did Miss Fraser ever give you a reason for why she was warning you against your own husband?
Nope, nothing at all. She was just stirring up trouble.
And to your knowledge, Mr. McClintock had nothing to hide.
You see, there's the car. I told you he'd be back with his tail between his legs, didn't I, detective? Now perhaps you can ask him yourself. Darling, I have been the what?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to intrude.
Where's James?
I don't know. Why? Isn't he here?
If you don't mind, Miss Fraser, we were wondering if you might be able to answer a few more questions for us.
Can I just get a cup of tea or something first?
Here, you can have my coffee. I haven't started it yet.
Thanks.
So where have you been?
Perhaps we should let the detective ask the questions, AD.
After all the insinuations, Miles, I just want this cleared up once and for all.
Look, I think this whole ordeal is getting to you. So why don't we go to the study, okay? And talk things through a bit.
This whole ordeal, as you put it, is nothing but an unwanted house guest 24 hours ago. Since then, Julia has tried to suggest that my husband is a liar. This detective has insinuated that James and Julia are probably having some sort of secret affair. And now, just to cap it all off, James has gone missing.
James is missing?
It appears so.
Since when?
None of your bloody business.
Oh, come on now, D. You just don't need to be aggressive now.
Perhaps it would be better if we could speak to Miss Fraser alone.
What? And let you sit and listen to her more lies about us? No,
Please, Mrs. McClintock, we're just trying to do our jobs here.
It's okay. D, nobody is out to get you, okay?
No, I'm sorry, Miles, but I'm not about to sit here and listen to little Miss Butter Won't Welt in her mouth routine. I'm going for a walk. And contrary to the detective's opinion, I'm sure I'll bump into James on the way.
Well, would you like me to go with you?
No, thanks. I need to clear my head. Feel free to interrogate away, detective. The sooner you make an arrest, the better.
I'm sorry. Dee isn't particularly fond of me, I'm afraid.
So I've noticed, which makes choosing to come here last night rather puzzling.
Oh, I didn't come to see Dee, detective. I came because of James. You see, not that long ago, James and I were very close.
So I've heard.
Julia turned to somebody that she trusts. Right, Julia?
I would have thought that this would be the last place you would come to after Mr. McClintock's affair.
Whatever went on before, it's been dealt with. James has apologized and we have become good friends again. It may sound silly to you, but he's the one person I know who would do anything for me.
Apart from marry you.
Yes, if you like, apart from marrying me.
I mean, is that really necessary, detective? I mean, it's all water under the bridge. Besides, the reason why Miss Fraser sought refuge here is hardly going to determine who stabbed John Marshall now, is it, detective?
Maybe, maybe not. You of all people should know, Dr. Barnum, that when you scratch the surface of a scene, a better picture begins to emerge. A bit like a jigsaw puzzle that needs putting back together.
What if you're looking at the wrong jigsaw?
Then I'll get a nice picture, a great sense of satisfaction, and the urge to look elsewhere. Okay, Dr. Barnum?
You know, perhaps what I'll do is that I'll check on D and leave you to your puzzle. Hey, detective?
You won't be leaving the house today, will you, Dr. Barnum?
What, and miss an opportunity to be interviewed by you, dear sir? Oh, I wouldn't miss it for the world.
So, Miss Fraser, you say you haven't seen Mr. McClintock since last night?
That's right.
And what time did you go to bed? Can you remember roughly?
Well, it's all rather a blur, I'm afraid. You see, after I fainted, James was kind enough to get me a brandy and then we talked. We decided not to call the police until this morning, and then I went back to bed, although I swapped rooms with Dr. Barnum. I didn't fancy sleeping in the room that I found the knife in.
And you have no idea how the knife came to be in your bed?
No, none.
And you didn't see Mr. McClintock since?
I didn't see him. Not really.
Is that a yes or a no, Miss Fraser?
Well, okay, I did see James again, but only briefly. I was opening my window. I had such a headache, you see, what with the brandy, and my nerves were all on edge. Anyway, that's when I saw him. He was standing on the patio with Delia.
Were Mr. and Mrs. McClintock talking when you saw them?
No, they were fighting.
Fighting. You mean arguing?
No, I mean fighting.
Okay, Miss Fraser. I believe you. Just tell me everything that you can remember.
It all happened pretty quickly. James was holding up some letter or something, and Delia knocked it out of his hand.
What sort of letter?
I don't know, I couldn't see. Whatever it was, it made Delia mad because she started screeching at him. James looked furious and tried to calm her down, only she tripped backwards and landed on one of the garden chairs. Then she sort of curled up and began to cry.
And you couldn't hear anything they were saying?
Not much. The patio's quite away from my window. All I caught was James shouting something about facing up to things, and then he turned and stormed off towards the gate.
Did you happen to notice the time he left?
Sorry, I just didn't think to look.
And did it not occur to you to go look for Mr. McClintock?
Well, yes, it did occur to me, only just as I was about to let myself out of the door, I heard voices.
Outside.
Yes, so I went back to the window and I saw Dee talking to Miles. She looked annoyed and Miles was trying to calm her down. Then,
Miss Fraser?
look, nobody reads these notes and things, do they?
This is just between us. For now.
Well, then Miles gave Dee a pill or something. She was in a terrible state.
And then what happened?
Not much. Miles led her back to her room and I went to find James.
And did you find him?
No. By the time I got to the drive, his car was gone.
So Mr. and Mrs. McClintock have a fight. Mrs. McClintock storms off and Dr. Barnum goes to comfort her. And then you go to comfort Mr. McClintock?
I know, it sounds weird, doesn't it?
I'm not here to judge. Miss Fraser, I don't suppose you have any idea why Mr. and Mrs. McClintock might have been arguing?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
But you have an idea.
Look, detective, this isn't going to do my case for the defense any good, but I think James was telling her that he was still in love with me.
Are you telling me that you were seeing Mr. McClintock?
Yes.
And is it possible Mrs. McClintock could have discovered this?
It's possible. We were going to leave for this weekend, only John was murdered.
And that threw a big wrench in your plans.
Yes.
Do you think Mrs. McClintock would be capable of murder, Miss Fraser?
What?
You're about to turn the tables on her. She might be in the market for revenge.
I don't understand. I thought I was the #1 suspect.
Not anymore. We received a call that we're taking pretty seriously.
But why didn't you tell me?
We wanted to speak to you and Mrs. McClintock first.
Are you saying that you think it's Dee? You think Dee killed John? But why? She hardly knew him.
Her husband could hardly run off with a murderer, now could he?
You think that's why she did it?
It's possible.
How could you hate someone so much? I mean, I know what it's like to lose someone you love to another woman, but to stoop to murder and then watch someone else pay for it?
Like I said, we're taking this call seriously. It led us to some CCTV footage of Mrs. McClintock's car leaving the underground parking lot under his apartment about the time of the murder.
So I'm off the hook.
At this point in time.
I can't quite believe it. I mean, I've known Dee for years. Sure, we didn't always get on, but this is something else. She must be crazy. No one in their right mind would do something like this.
Quite possibly. I really can't comment on her mental state.
But I can.
Miles, how long have you been there?
Long enough.
So you know about Delia, I mean.
Oh yes, I've known. Truth is I've known all along.
Excuse me a moment.
It's okay. It's not your fault. You couldn't have helped her, Miles. She left you. Is everything all right?
That was the lab. Turns out that knife you found was covered in John Marshall's blood.
But I don't understand. How can it be John Marshall's blood? You have the murder weapon, don't you, detective?
Murder weapon, yes. But it seems our murderer was intending on playing a little joke on you.
What do you mean?
There's no nice way of putting this, Miss Fraser, but whoever murdered John Marshall obviously took along an extra knife, covered it in his blood, and took it away with them.
That's sick. Really bloody sick.
I'd have to agree. I've never heard of anything like this. Whoever did this must have had a really big grudge against you, Miss Fraser.
You mean Dee. Dee really had a grudge against me.
Certainly looking that way. The funny thing is, Mrs. McClintock must have known that after finding the body, you'd seek refuge here.
I suppose if she had found out about James and me, then she would have known exactly where I would come.
And now Mr. McClintock is missing.
Oh God, it's all my fault. I seem to cause nothing but trouble wherever I go.
Here.
Come on, you can't help any of this.
Oh, Miles, I shouldn't have come here.
He was in need of refuge, and James offered it to you.
But supposing I've put him in danger too.
I'm sorry to have to ask you more questions, Miss Fraser, but I wonder if you wouldn't mind clarifying a few points with me. It might help us to find Mr. McClintock.
Can't this wait?
It won't take but a moment, sir.
It's all right, really. What is it that you want to know?
Well, your relationship with John Marshall, are you saying that it was
Purely platonic, detective, despite what you may read in the papers. John and I were never an item. We simply spent a lot of time together enjoying a mutual love of music. My love was James. It always has been, and he had realized just how much he wanted to be with me too.
Surely, if Mr. McClintock had wanted to be with you, he would have simply left Delia. After all, he'd left you before. Why couldn't he do it again?
Because I wasn't like Dee.
And what was Miss McClintock like, Miss Fraser?
Oh, it's difficult to explain. She was like two people. One could be okay and reasonable, but the other Dee was like a mad woman.
Are you saying that Mrs. McClintock has a split personality?
Look, this really isn't up to me to discuss. James knew her better than anyone.
Apart from me.
Oh, Miles, I'm sorry, I didn't think.
James may have known her for a year or so, but I've spent nearly 10 years with her. So if anybody is asking for opinion on Dee, I think I would be rather qualified.
So do you mind answering the detective's question? Do you think your ex-wife suffered from a mental health condition?
Do you mean, is she schizophrenic?
If that's what you prefer.
Then the answer is yes.
Dee's a schizophrenic? But how long have you known?
How long have I known? Well, suspected for 5 years, but sure, 3.
Is your ex-wife receiving any treatment for her condition?
Only for me.
But I don't understand.
I wanted to keep her with me, right? I thought that if she was receiving the proper medication on a day-by-day basis, that I could look after her. Only she decided to have this stupid affair and want to leave me.
So she would have stopped taking the medication.
She thought they were vitamins.
So you let her go, knowing she was likely to become ill again?
I didn't know what to do. I tried to talk to her about it, but she thought that I was just trying to get her to stay. I knew I had to stay close to her, so I pretended to be okay with the divorce so that way I can be her best friend.
Well, she made James's life a misery.
You don't know that.
James was frightened of her, of what she was capable of. Did you know that? All we wanted was to be back together, but James was terrified that she would harm me if she found out.
Wait, are you saying that she thought Mrs. McClintock could hurt someone?
He didn't just think it, he knew it.
It's my fault. I should have found her another doctor sooner.
Do you think that Delia may have become suspicious about you and Mr. McClintock?
Perhaps. We had been a bit careless recently.
Careless enough for her to have found out that Mr. McClintock wanted to be reunited with you?
Yes. I put one of his letters to me in his jacket pocket. She could have found it.
I think that highly probable, don't you?
But I had no idea that it would send her over the edge.
Wait, we don't know that it has, Julia. Look, there could be a perfectly good explanation to Jane's disappearance, and I can assure you that Detective Rudge will remind you that Dee is just a suspect.
But you just did say that she suffered from schizophrenia.
It doesn't mean that she's capable of murder.
So you don't believe that it's possible?
Wait, what do you want me to say? That if left untreated for a long amount of time, that Dee of all people can degenerate significantly to be able to murder somebody? Well, the truth is, I don't know that.
Discovering that her husband was about to leave her would have been rather distressing for her, don't you think, Dr. Barnum?
I still don't understand why she didn't want to kill me.
Seeing you locked away for a murder you didn't commit might prove a little more satisfying and have the added benefit of making Mr. McClintock think that you're a rather nasty woman.
I can't quite believe it. I can't believe that someone could hate you so much. And John, poor John, he hadn't done anything and yet she killed him in cold blood.
No. See, there has to be a rational explanation to all this, okay? There could be hundreds of women that can answer Dee's description. And to assume that her finding out about Julia would help her actually turn to murder? No, what?
But not with all the same license plate as Mrs. McClintock.
Like, can't take this. Sorry, forgive me.
Shall I get you a drink?
I feel like I'm responsible for all this. I mean, if I could have just upped her medication, if I would have just sent her to a specialist.
You mustn't blame yourself, Miles. You did everything you could to help her.
But it wasn't enough, was it?
Look, I'm gonna need to take Mrs. McClintock in. I presume you have no objections to staying here so I can take some more statements?
Your guess. Detective?
Yes?
Be gentle with her, okay? She may be confused.
Don't worry, doctor. We're not quite as barbaric as people think.
I'll
Mm.
head back to the lab and make sure they rush the test.
All right, I'll call in and let them know what's happening.
You'll get a better reception in the garden.
Thank you.
Miles.
Don't touch me.
Miles, the detective.
What? Worried that they made over here?
Don't do this, Miles. We've come too far.
You know, you make me want to throw up.
I care about you, Miles. And you don't mean that. You're just upset. Is it because of Dee? Have you forgotten what she did to you, darling? How she came home to you from James's bed? Have you forgotten how that made you feel? Remember that anger, Miles. That anger that made you want to put your hands around her throat. Yes, that's it. That's what you wanted to do, wasn't it, Miles? And then Mrs. Daniels walked into your consulting rooms, didn't she?
Daniels, Mrs. Daniels. She was laughing.
Yes, she was laughing. And why was she laughing, Miles? Because she was having an affair that her husband knew nothing about.
She thought that it was all just a stupid joke to her.
But not to you, was it, Miles? Because when Mrs. Daniels, your patient, began to tell you that she was having an affair, you couldn't think straight, could you, Miles? It was like Dee all over again, and you couldn't stop yourself. You wanted to punish her, show her what pain was, and then you squeezed, didn't you?
No!
Oh, yes, is this how it was, Miles?
I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to do
You
it.
did, didn't you?
I was thinking about Dee. She was the only thing that was on my mind. Kept seeing her in James' arms, and it was killing me.
So you killed her, didn't you?
I didn't mean to. She was laughing. She was high-pitched, stupid laugh about what she had done, and I snapped. I thought she was laughing at me. I thought that James and Dee, they were laughing at me.
Even I was coming up to see you.
I was just thinking, you confused me.
You didn't look confused when I offered to help you shift the body.
I was terrified.
And you don't think I wasn't? You owe me, Miles. It's okay. I'm here. Nobody else will ever know. It's our little secret. And in return, you can do me this little favor. It's not much to ask now, is it, Miles? I mean, getting Delia arrested is hardly the same as murdering one of your patients. And when all this is over, you can start a new practice in some other part of the country, and we can forget all about James and Delia and John.
You make me sick.
Funny you should say that, darling, because that's precisely what you've done to me. I've been sick every morning this week.
What do you mean?
Oh, for God's sake, Miles, you're a doctor, aren't you?
But that was drunk, for God's sakes.
We just got lucky, I suppose.
You're such a monster. You know that?
And you're not?
When is the baby due?
December, just in time for Christmas.
What if I... They'll find James.
And when they do, he won't be talking.
How could you do it?
It wasn't so hard.
Oh my God. You actually enjoyed it, didn't you? Killing the man that spurned you.
They deserved it, both of them.
Why? Because they didn't want you? Have you ever asked yourself why, Julia? Why men don't want you? I'll tell you why. Because you are an evil bitch.
Sticks and stones, Miles. Don't forget, we are in this together, and with Delia arrested for my little crimes, you'll be off the hook too, so to speak.
I don't believe you.
Apart from the child maintenance, of course. You are going to be sporting about that, aren't you?
You know, give me one good reason why I shouldn't kill you right now.
With the detective outside the door? That really wouldn't be very sensible now, would it, darling? Besides, you wouldn't want our little one to come to any harm now, would you? There. That's better. You've got to keep your head, Miles. If not for me, think of your child. Imagine growing up with a father who's in prison for murder and a mother in prison for 2.
I can't.
You can.
Is Dr. Barnum okay?
Oh, he's going to be just fine.
We've taken Mrs. McClintock in for questioning. Some of my officers caught up with her in the lane. They should be on their way to the station now.
How is she, Detective?
Distressed, bewildered, outraged, the usual. I'm gonna hang around for a while just to take a look through some of Mrs. McClintock's things, if that's okay.
Good day's work, eh, Detective?
Would you mind if I took Dr. Barnum out for a bit of fresh air?
Not a problem.
Come on, Miles. You've had a terrible shock. I'll take you down to the lake. It's so peaceful there.
Okay, thanks. I think perhaps you better sit down, Miss Fraser.
Why? What's wrong? Is it James? Have you found him?
Please, Miss Fraser.
It is James, isn't it?
He was found an hour ago by a woman out walking her dog.
Is he okay, Detective?
Oh, God, no, don't tell
I'm
me.
afraid he's been stabbed.
Oh, my God, not James, too. I can't
No,
bear
no,
it.
no, 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 no. There must be some type of mistake.
I'm afraid not.
So Dee killed him too?
Well, we're assuming that she stabbed him, but thankfully she won't be facing another murder charge on this occasion.
Why not? I don't understand. You saw how unstable she was, and besides, I told you about their fight on the balcony.
I thought you said it was the patio.
Yes, that's what I meant. I'm sorry. It's just the shock. I'm not thinking straight.
That's not the reason that we're not charging Mrs. McClintock with murder.
Then what is the reason then?
Well, Mr. McClintock's still alive. Obviously, it was her intention to leave Mr. McClintock to die, but she hadn't bargained for his love of music.
I don't understand.
He had a couple of CDs in his pocket. The knife must have glanced off the plastic cases, and the wound missed his heart, barely. With luck, he should be out of the hospital in about a week.
That's wonderful.
I thought you'd be pleased.
Has he said who attacked him?
Not yet, but we're not expecting any surprises on that score.
No, I don't suppose you are. It's 3 o'clock. The policewoman said she'd be here by 2:30.
What are we doing here?
Supporting our friend.
Oh, that's a great idea. Until he realized who stabbed him.
He doesn't know it was me. The police reckon he didn't see who attacked him.
But I thought you spoke to him the last time you know.
Yes, well, he must have hit his head or something because he says he doesn't remember anything.
Too weird. Something's not right about this.
Isn't it possible for him to have amnesia?
Oh, it would be probably convenient for both of us, but no, I don't buy it. It's too easy. It's too neat.
What are you thinking?
Trap, perhaps?
You think he's setting us up?
Well, wouldn't you? What if he's trying to get us to actually say it on tape or something like that?
Oh, for God's sake, Miles. For an intelligent man, you've been watching too much Tiger. James is fine. I know it. I spoke to him on the phone, remember?
So what?
So I know James. I'd know if he was up to something.
Oh, so now you are an expert. Well, you didn't realize that he was having an affair with my wife a couple of years ago? No, no. Besides, what are you going to do when the police ask him about your affair? You know, the reasons for Dee's sudden plummeting into madness? He can hardly say that he forgot that.
Why not?
Because it's ridiculous. Should have left when we had the chance.
The police would have picked us up before we even got to the airport. No, it's better this way. If the police aren't suspicious yet, then James couldn't have told them anything. He must have lost his memory.
It's a setup. I know it is.
That must be them. How do I look?
Like a scheming, murdering bitch.
Great. Just the look I was after.
God, I need another drink.
We will get away with this. If you keep your head, Doctor.
I don't know if I can. I don't even know if I want to anymore.
Think of the baby, Miles, your child.
I'm gonna stop thinking about it.
Leave James to me.
What, you're not gonna kill him?
Don't be so bloody stupid. The police are swarming around here looking for God knows what in the hedgerows. I'm hardly about to try anything. Besides, if I did, it would mean that Delia would be off the hook, wouldn't it? Have another drink, but that's your limit. Alcohol loosens tongues.
What the hell are we going to do?
We comfort, we support, just long enough for the police to lose interest in us, and then we disappear, okay?
Lord, pass me the bottle.
Here we are. Is that okay? Look who's here, Miles.
Ah, James, how are you?
Tired, sore, but okay.
Oh, I am so sorry about everything, about Dee.
Wasn't your fault, Miles.
Can I get you anything, James? A drink or a coffee?
A drink would be great. I've been drinking nothing but warm water from a plastic jug for the last week.
Oh, here, wait, let me get it for you. Oh, shoot, I'm so sorry. Dang, I'm such a klutz. Oh,
You seem really edgy, Miles. That's not like you.
He's just been very upset, haven't you, Miles? About you and me.
God, you know, let me go get you another glass, okay?
Thanks, Miles. You know where they are, don't you?
Yeah, I'll go find them.
It's so great to have you home.
Thanks. It's funny, coming here without Dee, I thought would be strange, but oddly it's not.
I thought you might resent me for being here.
Why should I?
Because Dee's in prison, not me.
Well, you were the victim, Jules.
Yes, I know, but anyway, you seem to be taking it very well.
Am I?
I thought you'd be angry and upset.
Is that how you think I should be?
No, of course not. I mean, it's great that you seem so together.
It was a shock.
It must have been.
She must have hated me.
Oh, no.
She tried to kill me, Jules.
Have the police interviewed you yet?
They came to see me in the hospital.
Can I get you something?
There's cigarettes in the drawer there.
But you gave up smoking 3 years ago.
Did I?
Here, I don't have any matches.
Thanks. There's a lighter in the drawer there too.
Oh, yes.
Thanks. You're shaking, Jules.
Am I?
I didn't tell them anything.
What do you mean?
The police, you asked them if they'd interviewed me. I wasn't feeling so strong, so I didn't tell them much. They're sending someone by this afternoon so that I can make my statement.
Oh, I see.
Here, I got you your glass.
Thanks, Miles. For once, I'm glad you're here.
You know, I could leave if you'd rather. You know, Julia thought that I may be able to leave it in the hand.
You know, getting around.
I appreciate that, Miles.
Actually, the police didn't want us to leave the village until you got home. You know, it's a bit of a media circus out there.
Yeah, we drove through it. I dare say tomorrow's newspaper will have the headline of "The Murder Victim Who Survives" splashed over the front page.
We've both made the front page already this morning.
So, how's Dee?
I don't know.
But you haven't spoken to her?
Have you?
No, I thought you would have had something to say.
Like what? Thanks for the stabbing. Why couldn't you just ask me for a divorce? That sort of thing.
Don't, James.
The truth is, I don't know what I would say to her. The police seem to think that she did it, killed John, that is, and then attempt to kill me. So what can I possibly say?
But I thought that you loved her.
Do you want anything to eat? There's some ham in the fridge. I could fix you a sandwich.
No, I'm not very hungry, but thanks anyway.
I'll go and get you a blanket.
You two look more depressed than me. Is there something on your minds? Oh, that'll be the interrogation squad.
Who?
Calm down. Sorry, bad joke.
I'll let them in, shall I?
Be my guest. She's great, isn't she?
Who, Julia?
Yeah. I could get used to so much attention.
James, are you okay? Only you haven't been yourself lately. I mean, you could be suffering from some type of traumatic stress syndrome, or it could be in shock. Like, it's been a really rough week for you, seeing that Dee's in prison and all.
Shut up,
And
Miles.
what you
Pour me another drink.
The police are here, James.
Good afternoon, Mr. McClintock, Dr. Barnum.
Hello.
Please sit down. Would you like a drink?
No, thanks. I have to ask you some questions, I'm afraid, Mr. McClintock.
Ask away, as long as it's okay for Miss Fraser and Dr. Bonham to stay.
I have no objections.
So what do you want to know? If my memory has returned?
I really wanted to ask you a little bit more about your relationship with Miss Fraser.
Ah, I see.
The evidence suggests that it was because of your relationship with Miss Fraser that your wife's mental state degenerated.
My wife's mental state?
As Dr. Barnum has stated, your wife was a schizophrenic who was not taking any medication at the time of the attack.
Told you that, did he? So let me get this straight. Dr. Barnum told you that my wife was mad, and Miss Fraser informed you that we were having an affair. Let me guess the next bit. My wife Delia found out that Julie and I were going to run away together, and then began her frenzy of killings in order to keep me and frame my lover. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's how it's been reported to me.
James, before you say anything.
Are you disputing any of this, sir?
James, I just
No.
want you to know
No, detective. No, of course I'm not. It's all true. Sad but true.
So you admit that you and Miss Fraser were having a relationship?
It was more than that, detective. We are very much in love. Isn't that right, darling? Got your tongue, Jules?
No, of course not.
So, you really believe that's what drove her to it, detective?
This seems the most likely cause, and Dr. Barnum's evidence will go a long way strengthening our case.
I didn't realize how ill she was.
You're not to blame, sir. Your wife should have been on medication, but even Dr. Barnum had not foreseen how ill she really was.
I'm sorry.
You say the person that attacked you came at you from behind. Is there anything that you might remember about that person? A scent, the color of their shoes, anything?
Her perfume. Something I bought her years ago. And a gold bracelet. Yeah, she bought it in Turkey, which was odd because she always said she hated gold, preferred silver.
Are you saying that you can definitely identify your wife as the person who stabbed you?
Absolutely, it was Dee, no question.
Your memory seems to be returning rapidly, Mr. McClintock.
Perhaps it was coming back here. Everything seems to have fallen into place.
Then perhaps you could give me an idea of why, after your wife had framed Julia so successfully, she attempted to kill you. Surely what your wife wanted was for you to remain with her
I think I can't help you there, Detective. You see, the night Julia came to stay with us, that night she found that awful knife, Dee and I argued. She had confronted me about the affair, and I had no choice but to admit it. She thought I would be horrified by the accusations against Jules and asked me if I wanted to be someone who was going to be imprisoned for murder. Stupidly, I said yes.
So you think that she realized that even if Miss Fraser was found guilty, you'd stand by her and continue to seek a divorce?
Yes, and then her plan was in ruins. Pretty sure she hated me then. It's incredible, isn't it, how someone's idea of love can be so easily twisted into hatred. I suppose that must be a narrow line. Isn't that right, Doctor?
Perhaps. I mean, everybody has their threshold.
I wonder how much yours would need to be tested.
I don't know. Then we're not talking about me, are we, James?
No, of course not. So, Detective, have I answered all your questions?
Yeah, you've been very helpful. Thank you. I will need a return to take a full statement from you, of course, but I'm sure you're tired and I'll just come back in the morning if that's okay.
Thanks. I do feel tired, so could you see the detective out, darling?
I'll do that.
Thank you, Miles.
Until tomorrow then, sir? Miss Fraser?
Goodbye.
Do me a favor, Jules. Run me a bath. I stink of hospital.
Of course, I'll do it now.
It's just like old times, don't you think? It was easy. They don't have a clue. Yeah, I miss you too. Just hang in there. We'll be back together again very soon.
Where's my lawyer?
He's been held up in traffic.
I don't believe you.
Who cares?
I have rights. I know I do. This is the 21st century, for God's sakes.
You'll get your lawyer.
When?
After you tell me if this belongs to you.
No, I've never seen it before in my life.
That's odd because it has your fingerprints all over it.
You just gave it to me.
I think that's going to be a little far-fetched for a jury to swallow.
You set me up. You set me up from the start, haven't you?
What gives you that idea?
I didn't see it before, but now it's so obvious. Where's James? Why won't you let him see me? Why are you doing this to us?
I'm just doing my bit to clear up the crime figures, Mrs. McClintock.
I don't believe you. And where's the other officer? There's supposed to be 2 officers present at all times. How are you doing this?
Listen, I think you're a little delusional today, Mrs. McClintock. Officer Blake has been present until just now when you asked him to grab you a glass of water.
It's you that's bloody delusional. There hasn't been anyone else in here.
But it's your word against mine. Oh, and Officer Blake, who I know I could rely on in court.
Why are you doing this? I want to see James. I need to know my husband is okay.
Perhaps you should go back to your cell, Delia. You look like you could do with a lie down.
I want to see James.
I'm afraid your husband doesn't want to see you.
You're lying.
He says you tried to kill him.
No, he couldn't have. I wouldn't harm him. I love him.
Delia, he's lucky to be alive.
I know, but it wasn't me.
Dr. Barnum has confirmed that you are mentally unstable. He should know, I suppose.
Miles said that?
Miles did a little more than said it. He's issued us with a full medical report. It's a gloomy read, I'm afraid.
I've been set up. It's not true.
That's what they all say.
I don't understand why you're doing this to me. I'm innocent. I've never seen that bloody knife, and you know it. I want my husband. I want James. Help me.
I
Somebody
need some help in here. The prisoners
Please
turned
help
violent
me.
again.
No. Somebody help me. Please.
I'm afraid it's a bit too late for that, Mrs. McClintock.
Miles, is that you? What the hell are you doing in the village? James asked you to get some more cigarettes? I don't like this, Miles. Something is very, very wrong. James is going along with everything we say. I mean, if he knows that we framed Dee, then why isn't he telling the police? Okay, sorry about that. Goodbye. Sorry, I didn't hear you coming.
Who were you talking to?
Oh, it was a wrong number.
I don't think Miss Marple would have fallen for that one.
Okay, sorry. It was Miles. He was just worried about you smoking so much.
Suppose that's a hazard when you send a doctor to get cigarettes.
He and I just felt that perhaps you haven't been acting like yourself since you've been back.
Are you complaining?
No.
I mean, had I been acting like the old James, the James you left bleeding on the footpath, I could have well turned you and Miles in by now.
So you do remember.
Did you ever doubt it?
But I don't understand. If you know what I did, why haven't you told the police?
Perhaps it suits me.
But Dee's in custody.
I know.
Don't you care?
You?
This is crazy. I don't understand.
You killed John too, didn't you?
I don't have to say anything.
Oh, don't worry, I'm not taping this or anything, so you can say whatever you want. It won't go any further than this room.
Yes, well, I've only got your word on that, haven't I?
But you did kill him, didn't you? Was it because he was seeing another woman? Must have been awful. First me and then John. Why is it that all the men you fall in love with cheat on you, Jules, huh? Why is that?
You tell me.
It hurts, doesn't it?
What would you know? You were never the innocent party. That part was always for people like me and Miles.
Oh, yes, your accomplice, Dr. Miles. You know, that really did surprise me. Why would Miles do something like that to frame Dee? I mean, you and I both know that he's still in love with her.
That's not true.
Miles never got over her, Jules. Any man could see that. That's why it finds it so hard to understand why he would put her in such a terrible position.
You'll have to ask him.
Oh, I will. And yet I think so. It might be easier for you to tell me. I mean, you are the brains of this operation anyway, right?
This is ridiculous. I tried to kill you. Aren't you just a little scared that I might try to do it again?
No, you got what you wanted, really. I mean, John treated you terribly, and you, after all, had to show him how foolish he was, right?
He hadn't even got the guts to tell me. I found them together in the shower.
And if you couldn't have him, nobody else could.
He was just like all the rest.
Like me, you mean?
Yes, like you.
You hated Dee, didn't you?
She thought I was pathetic. I was the one that she had treated badly, and yet she made me feel like dirt. I hated her for that.
So why didn't you kill her?
That would have been too easy.
So why kill me?
To punish you and her. She loves you so much.
I know, and your little plan went so well, didn't it? I mean, apart from me, that is.
I thought you were dead.
Sorry to disappoint you.
So what happens now?
Why should anything happen?
Are you crazy? If you don't go to the police, then Delia could rot in prison for the next 30 years.
I thought that's what you wanted. Besides, it would be such a shame to ruin everything, especially when it's taken a lot of work and planning on your part to get her there.
What do you want from me?
Hey, what's going on?
Ah, Miles, good of you to join us. Did you get my cigarettes? Great. Now hand them over. And please, no lectures about the dangers of smoking. I'm just a murder victim with a death wish, so let's get on with it.
So what's been going on?
Nothing.
Nothing. Goodness, your accomplice in crime here, Miles, is being a little economical with the truth. We've actually been spending a pleasant few minutes talking about your involvement in 2 murders and the framing of an innocent woman.
Oh my God.
See, now that was the reaction I was more expecting, Julia.
Oh my God. What are you going to do?
Nothing.
What?
What do you mean?
Exactly what I said, nothing. I intend to do nothing.
What about D? If you don't turn us in, then D doesn't stand a chance.
For a couple of criminals intent on putting my wife in prison, you sure seem like you want me to turn you in.
Of course we don't. Only I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, what have you possibly got to gain?
Haven't you guessed yet?
Guess what? Guess what? Would you stop playing games and tell us what's going on?
Haven't you guessed yet? I mean, the truth is you two do me a favor.
What are you talking about?
Apart from the knife wound, of course, I'm not going to thank you for that, Jules.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that you're glad that D set up?
What do you think?
But why? You adored her. You dumped me so you could be with her. You even married her, for God's sake.
Or Jules, that part still rankles with you, doesn't it?
Are you seeing someone else, James?
Now, why am I not surprised you've read the situation, Doctor?
I knew you was fickle. I didn't know you was stupid too. Does D know?
Fortunately, D doesn't have your powers of deduction, Miles.
Are you telling me that you were cheating on D?
Yeah, why? I thought you would be glad. It's rough justice, don't you think?
You are detestable.
But Jules, you've only just finished telling that nice police detective how much you love me.
This fits you just fine, doesn't it? God, how stupid we must look. Can't you see, Julia? Even now, you can murder your boyfriend. You can imprison his wife. You can nearly kill him, and he's still laughing at us. All you did was rid him of his problem. Now he's free to love again. Is that what you wanted when you went off of this whole campaign of misery?
No, of course not. I wanted him to suffer.
And the irony, God, I wanted to die with all of this guilt and the shame, and here he is delighted.
Who is she?
None of your damn business.
Who is she?
God's sakes, Julia, give it a rest.
I should have killed you properly the first time.
Julia, no.
If you kill me now, the police will pick you up in less than 10 minutes.
She's right. Julia, don't do anything stupid.
Perhaps I don't care anymore.
Of course you do. Think about it carefully, Julia. All right? James is not worth going to prison over.
That's where you're wrong.
What the hell do you
Wait.
think you're doing?
Finishing the job I started.
Julia, no! That's not what we talked about. No, here we go.
Is she dead? Wow, that was close. I owe you one.
You owe me. You owe me more than that.
What do you mean?
I want you to tell the police everything.
Why?
Because I can't let you leave D in prison. I won't let you.
Look, Miles, I'm glad you saved my life, but I'm not going to screw it up to say thanks.
You owe D.
I've got other plans. Sorry.
Wait, so are you telling me, wait, are you telling me that you're not going to make a statement?
Miles, what do you think you're doing? For God's sake.
You treated her terribly, James. I won't let that happen anymore.
Let's talk about this, Miles. Now, Miles, I know you still love her, but you and Julia put her in there, not me.
Julia was blackmailing me. I had no choice. But now she's dead, and now my secret's dead too.
So why not just walk away? I won't say a word to the police. You could be in France by tomorrow. Let me do the explaining. I'll tell the police that Julia attacked me and you saved my life.
I don't want an explanation. I want you to tell the truth about Julia.
Look, Miles, I understand how you feel, but you have to understand how it is for me. Dee and I weren't getting along so well, and I met this other person who was just so right for me.
You always said that Dee was so right for you.
Yes, well, things change. I woke up in the hospital, and when I found Dee had been arrested, it all seemed wonderfully convenient.
You bastard. You cold-hearted, selfish bastard.
Bloody rich coming from you.
If you won't cooperate, then I'm just going to have to do things myself. Sorry, James, but I'm going to have
Dr.
to.
Barnum, please put down the gun. Now kick it to me. Now move over to the wall and keep your hands up where I can see them.
Christ, darling, you're cutting it a bit fine there.
I got held up in the village. One of the neighbors reported hearing a shot, and I came over the radio as I was driving up here. I got here as fast as I could.
I think you got here when you did. I mean, it's the third time I've nearly been killed in the space of a week. I'm beginning to get a complex.
I've missed you.
It's you. You're the other woman. What?
You jealous?
God. I wondered. You seem to accept Julia's story rather quickly. I thought you was just in a rush for any type of result. God, I should have put two and two together.
All that education and still can't count to 4.
Who killed her?
Miles kindly did that for me, didn't you, Miles?
I did it so that James could free Julia. I did it so that James could free Dee.
Did you say that was what you wanted, James?
No, of course not.
Are you lying again, James?
What's he talking about?
Nothing, ignore him.
James has a habit of lying to the woman that he loves.
Can't you just see he's trying to wind you up?
Why would I do that? What do I have to gain?
What's your point, Doctor?
Okay, so I'm assuming that you've been helping to get Dee convicted, correct?
She didn't need much help. The evidence against her has been pretty damning.
And you had to take a couple of risks, correct?
That's none of your business, Doctor.
No, however, James thought that it was hilarious.
What do you mean?
Don't listen to him. He's talking complete crap.
What was so funny?
You. Oh, you thought that he loves you.
He does.
He loved her. So she said. And then suddenly Dee came into the picture, and now Dee was the love of his life. You, my dear, are just a number in a long line, detective.
James has had previous relationships. So what? I knew about all of them soon after we got together.
So you don't mind that he's trying to get Dee released?
What are you talking about?
He's making it up, Sal.
That was the whole reason why Julie was going to kill him. He was going to tell the police everything.
I don't believe you.
I suppose you don't. But then again, you don't know Dee and James like I do.
What are you going to do with him?
Oh, now there's a thought. What are you going to do with me, detective? On one hand, you can let me go, and there's a strong possibility that I might tell the police everything. Or alternatively, you can kill me. And in some bizarre twist of fate, me and Julia were fighting, and then all of a sudden kill each other. Difficult decision, isn't it, detective?
He's got a point. What the hell are you going to do with him?
He won't talk. He's got too much to lose.
Oh, on the contrary, dear lady, I've lost everything. I have nothing left to lose.
He's got a point. He's our only witness. I mean, things get difficult, he could get de-released and we'll all be in the clear.
What are you talking about? I've risked my entire career, not to mention a prison sentence, ensuring that your wife is charged.
But darling, things haven't worked out, have they? And if Dee is released and Miles confirms that Julia carried out the murders, then we can relax and go back to normal for a while, at least until the dust settles.
He was telling the truth, wasn't he?
No, you've misunderstood. I don't want Dee. I love you.
But James need Dee, don't you, James?
Think about it, Sally. We need her.
I don't believe this. You said we could be together.
And we can.
And he said that before, hasn't he, Sally?
Just mind your own damn business, Miles.
What do you suggest that we do, James? Stay back!
What are you going to do, kill me?
Right?
Sally, don't be so bloody stupid.
If I kill him, no one would suspect us. We simply say it was self-defense.
But I have no weapon.
James would be a witness.
Sally, don't do this. Leaving Dee to be framed by someone else is one thing. Murder is completely different.
Don't you want us to be together?
Absolutely, but not if it means I'm implicated in cold-blooded murder.
It seems like someone is not as dedicated to your future as you are, Detective.
Shut up!
Why don't you just pull the
I
trigger?
think I won't. Don't come any
Sally,
closer.
give me the gun.
He doesn't want you, my dear.
Sally, give me the bloody gun.
Oh my God! What have I done?
Okay.
Oh my God, what have I done?
Okay, he's still breathing. Barely, okay?
It's no use. It's all gone. I've ruined everything.
Come on, just save him, okay? Sally, just save him.
Can't.
Look, if you don't, then you could be facing a murder charge, okay?
You'll blab about everything, won't you?
I have no choice. All right, I've been running for a long time and it's been killing me, all right? Confession seems to be the only way that I am going to have some hope of peace at this moment.
Didn't kill anyone, though? Did you?
I can say that I haven't, but I have. Julia knew that I was responsible for the death of one of my patients. She was blackmailing me.
That's why you went along with this.
That's correct. Only I couldn't see Dee suffer. I love her too much.
Vengeance wasn't so sweet, was it?
Only I've suffered more.
Here, you make the call.
Thank you. Hello? Ambulance? Yes, I need you to come quickly. Somebody's been shot. Yes, hurry.
That was, darling, another bouquet, and this time for Mr. and Mrs. Gordon. It's a bit bizarre when you think about when we first came to the village. Nobody wanted to speak to us, and even after everything that has happened, now they treat us like celebrities. Hello? Oh, hello, Dr. Gillespie. Oh, I'm fine, thank you. Nope, no more nightmares, I am pleased to say. James is doing just fine, thank you. Knowing that you're going to spend the rest of your life paralyzed cannot be the easiest thing to come to grips with. But at least we have each other. And I have managed to find the most wonderful nurse. I don't think I could have done it on my own. I'm sure you understand. Yes. Oh, and I have taken your advice. Tonight I'm dining with an old friend, and after we're going to the theater. Yes, I am looking forward to it. And James is so supportive. He practically insists that I go out and have fun. Mm-hmm. Yes. He really is quite a man, as you put it. And just between us, Doctor, being able to care for James myself is no less than he deserves. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, I will let you know if there are any other changes. Thanks again, Doctor. Goodbye.
Delia, I can't reach my coffee. Stupid Calvin's nurses deliberately put it out of my reach. Delia, can you hear me? Everyone in this house wants to torture me. Delia, for God's sakes, help me here. Delia! Delia!